Introducing the Ultimate Boxing Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything boxing. From electrifying fight previews to in-depth interviews with the legends of the ring, we break down the biggest bouts round by round. Get inside the minds of the fighters, hear their stories, and feel the intensity of their training. Whether you're a hardcore fan or just starting out, our podcast has got you covered. Stay updated with the latest news, rivalries, and predictions. Tune in and feel the adrenaline, the passion, the raw power of boxing. Boxing is about perseverance, pushing through every challenge. It's the spirit of hard work and dedication that defines a true champion. So what are you waiting for? Like, follow, and subscribe to the Unprofessional Experts podcast. Stay tuned for more exciting updates. Without boxing, nothing in the world means anything.
Honestly, I thought I should have won without that being counted a knockdown. Look, I ain't the ref. I ain't really, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he had to wipe sweat out his eye, he had to wipe sweat out his eye. But the rules do state, if you voluntarily take a knee, then that's an automatic 8 count. But it is what it is. I wasn't relying on that. I was relying on what I was doing in there. I think I was taking control. I think I was landing more shots. I think I was landing more power shots. And I thought I was doing my thing. So I'm not really that frustrated about that. But if that was kind of a knockdown, I would win the majority decision.
Welcome back, fight fans. We are the Unprofessional Experts podcast. JMC and Davo. Go ahead, man. Like, follow, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a best friend, tell a cat, tell a chicken, tell a dog. Because if you do not, you already know what happens, man. We can throw them things in real life, man. We are available everywhere. I mean, any goddamn where. Just search the Unprofessional Experts podcast. Start streaming, man. Start viewing, man. Let everybody know when you're watching it. Come together as a unit and check out our latest episode. We gotta talk about last night's squabble. Should it have been in the new? Or are we overreacting, man? We got a full breakdown for you. Let's go ahead and tap right into it.
Yeah, let's get right into it, man. I don't want to waste no time. Let's get right into it. Point blank, period. Lamont Roach won that fight. I don't care what nobody says. It should have been a knockdown. What round was that?
Round 9.
Round 9. That should have been a 10-8 round for Lamont Roach. I don't know, hair grease, whatever happened. I don't know what happened. But that's not a thing in boxing. You can't just call timeout in boxing. So it definitely should have been a 10-8 round. Man, shout out to Lamont Roach. All respect to Lamont Roach, man. Master class in the technique and the skill of boxing, counter punching, staying in the pocket. Just beautiful shots, man. It really was a beautiful night of boxing. He was patient. He was calm. He was poised. He wasn't overwhelmed by Gervonta Davis in the boogeyman of the 135 division. Wasn't scared of the power. I mean, shout out to Lamont Roach, man. All respect due to Lamont, man. That was a great performance.
Ready for this, man. All the critics, like you said, mic drop.
There's a lot to unpack with that fight. And for me, watching the build-up, watching the press conference, watching the interviews, there was a sense of confidence. A sense of calmness, like, does he know something that we don't? And he did.
He did. He definitely did.
I think, I'll admit, I was one of the people that completely overlooked Lamont the Reaper Roach. And I'll stand to correct myself. He got game. He deserves his respect that we did not give him in that lead up. I'm one of the people who was like, who is he? Who is this guy? And I was completely out of pocket. I think as people who cover the sport, as people who talk about the sport, as people who love the sport, it's our job to, in a sense, sell it. Overreact to what each fighter, what they're doing, the announcements, the things that are going on. So when they announce Lamont Roach versus Gervonta, it's almost our job to critique that and break it down and be like, nah, that's not what we want. And it's exactly what the game needed, because it told us a lot about Gervonta, Tank Davis, and he looked uncomfortable. He did not handle a very well poised boxer standing across from him.
Did not handle it well.
He threw a shoulder. You know, he took a phantom knee.
He did.
Through the hair grease. You could tell after the fight, he wasn't comfortable. He didn't know who won.
It wasn't the same Gervonta that we've always seen.
He didn't do his backflip off the turnbuckle.
No backflips.
You know, and so he wasn't sure that he won that fight. He didn't know what to think once that fight was over. And Lamont Roach, kudos, hand clap, applause for the skill set that he brought to boxing. He buzzed Gervonta Davis for the first time ever.
I think he did it multiple times.
Who's done that? Nobody, right? And so I do want to make sure I give respect to Lamont Roach. Man, he made a statement, a big statement, and in my opinion, he won that fight. And let's even take opinion out of it, because that ref, you know, he's a cool ref, right? But per the rules, he should have counted that as a knockdown.
Should have been a knockdown.
And so if we're talking about a draw was the final result, that knockdown makes the difference. And we're talking about, and the new Lamont Roach shocks the world. And I think he did shock the world with his tool bag. He said he had a tool bag in the press conference. He said, y'all know who Gervonta is, but if you don't know me, get to know me. He was very confident, and we all overshadowed it. We all looked over because it's Gervonta Davis. And now I have questions about Gervonta and what he brings to the ring, because I need a rematch. I need an instant rematch. I need to see more Lamont Roach, and I need to see a focused and a confident Gervonta.
Well, you know, you say you got questions. I don't necessarily have questions about Gervonta Davis's skill set, because he also has that was a high level fight.
It was.
Both fighters. Both fighters have an amazing skill set, but I'm starting to more question Gervonta Davis's character, because like you said, he's throwing the shoulders. He's worried about the hair grease on his face. I mean, and just his attitude, like you say, his demeanor. None of that was what we normally see. What we normally see from Gervonta Davis, and so it could, because why? He's facing adversity truly for the first time, and so now we're kind of seeing the ugly side of the not so professional side, and the not so bravado and championship, you know, Gervonta Davis side that we're so used to seeing. And so, man, that adversity, man, is different. And like I can't big up Lamont Roach enough, man, for not listening to the haters and just getting in there doing his thing. Shout out to him and his whole team.
Tank, I just wanted to ask earlier, you said, you know, hopefully you can get the rematch with Lamont next, but everybody looks at you as the face of boxing and as somebody who calls the shots. Do you want that rematch next? And if so, how likely it is that we're to see that fight happen again this year?
I'm not sure, bro. I'm definitely not sure, but hopefully we could get it before. Nah, it probably won't be this year.
Is that the one you want next?
It's definitely the one I want next, but it's not gonna be next.
Well, what is?
You might see it in a minute. You definitely might see it in a minute.
Do you see a rematch coming?
I hope so. I hope that Gervonta doesn't run from that moment, and that he embraces it. He embraces the biggest challenge of his career, and he runs right back to it. And I think that's the best way to overcome that. Don't let that rematch linger. Don't let it loom over your head. Go right back to it. I think we need it by the summer. Also, questions, you know, some of those questions that I have in Gervonta, Barry Hunter was the head coach this time, not Calvin Ford. Calvin Ford was missing for part of the camp. So what's going on there?
Yeah, what's going on there?
What's happening? We need Calvin Ford back as head trainer. No disrespect to Barry Hunter, but with Barry Hunter as lead trainer, Gervonta potentially didn't have his best performance. Or was he just in front of somebody who is as skilled as he is?
I think it's the latter.
Okay.
I personally think it's the latter. I think he just really got in there with somebody who knew. Nobody else really understood or knew, but he himself knew, Lamont Roach, that, hey, listen, my skill set is just as good as Tank Davis's skill set, and I can stand in there with him. Nobody does that. Everybody gets in there with Gervonta, and they're immediately on the bicycle, which is understood. He packs a lot of power. He's got dynamite in both hands, so that's understandable. But from round one, what did Lamont Roach do? He stood right in front of Tank Davis, and he counterpunched beautifully, right? Defense, beautiful. Everything was just working and was on point for Lamont Roach, and he had a good game plan going into the fight.
I think for all the people who didn't understand what Lamont Roach brings to the table, have to now reassess that and take a look at that matchmaking, thinking it was bad matchmaking. Another random who is this, and it was great matchmaking. It was a guy who is a full-on boxer. It's not about power. It's not about being fast. It's a complete package. And that's something that Gervonta doesn't typically deal with. You know, there are styles that Gervonta has fought that were tailor-made for him to look good. And that is not the case with Lamont Roach. He actually took on a test. And I think you could see that in the build-up. Gervonta didn't disrespect Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach didn't disrespect Gervonta, but he was confident. Gervonta went into this. He said, this is going to be my toughest opponent so far. And that absolutely showed. So I think, you know, for the people who cover boxing, who talk about boxing, who love boxing, sometimes there's a diamond in the rut, and we got to respect it because Lamont Roach is out there now. And that type of performance lets you know there's a Michael Jordan everywhere.
Man.
Not just in the spotlight. You know, they're in the woods and they can fight. And we know that, right? Because boxing is about who you know, when you know, luck and opportunities at times. You know, you're with the right team. You got the right people behind you. And sometimes you don't always get that, right? Lamont got his shot. Now the entire world knows he's a hell of a boxer. And so, hey, his dad, his team, we need to respect Lamont Roach.
And I think boxing needs these type of fights where, you know, you got your favorite. Everybody knew that going into the fight that Gervonta Davis was the favorite. But let's be real, Lamont Roach won that fight. It is what it is. He won that fight. So I'm glad that Lamont came in, he did his thing, and he showed how good of a boxer he is and how skillful he is because, everybody thought that this was just going to be a wash. Everybody thought that he was just going to get bulldozed, and this was just basically a tune-up fight for Gervonta Davis. But boxing needs these type of fights where you got these unknown guys that come in and they perform well and they do their thing and they make a name for themselves, just so we don't have like a monotony, right? And so it's not the same old thing all the time where, okay, the favorite wins all the time. I think boxing needs these type of fights where, yeah, you got unknown guys that come up and show out and do their thing. So again, shout out to Lamont Roach because that's what he did yesterday.
Who the bad judging, and salute, Lamont stepping up, taking that chance, man. Salute Gervonta for taking on what he thought would have been the best fighter of his career. And what's your opinion on it? Are we gaslighting Lamont? He's just a good fighter. Gervonta didn't look like Gervonta, but he still won. There's a lot to unpack. Gervonta's character. What about that shoulder, the goofy knee? Talk to us. Let us know what you think. Give us your breakdown in this comment section. This fight will be talked about for weeks to come.
What's next for Gervonta?
Rematch.
Let's say outside of a potential rematch with Lamont Roach, what do you think could potentially be next for Gervonta Davis?
I think outside of that, it makes Gervonta look scared of the moment. And so if he doesn't take the rematch, we got to have something lined up. Something nice. The world wants him to fight Shakur. That fight gets a little bit more interesting now, seeing that Gervonta can be outboxed and who has more skills, who has more tools in their bag than a Shakur Stevenson.
Maybe Lamont Roach.
Possibly.
Too soon.
Keyshawn Davis.
That would be a great one.
He's, talk about confidence, talk about bravado. He brings that. He stands on that. He breathes that. He was online saying he beats both of them after the fight, which, he's supposed to say that. He's a hell of a fighter in his own right. No more rollies.
No. I think you can also throw Teofimo in that mix. I think that would also be maybe a challenging fight for Gervonta. So between maybe Keyshawn Davis, Teofimo Lopez, and Shakur Stevenson, I think those 3 bouts would be, a good matchup for Gervonta Davis.
Great matchups. I think Lomachenko might
Lomo
have
as well.
a retirement fight. I think Loma should do it one more time. You know, just for the sport. The Matrix really appreciated his skill set, the angles, the combinations. The smaller guy always fighting bigger fighters. I think they gassed him a lot, but he could fight. Loma could absolutely fight.
They gassed the Ukrainian.
He brought a lot of skill, and so I would like to see Loma one more time. He hasn't had the best of luck here late, but he is currently a champion, and so I would like to see a Loma fight myself. And I know that's something that Gervonta wants, something that he was looking to have, and then Loma, took some time off because there's a lot going on in his country. So, Loma fight, not a Tiafimo fan, so I would like for somebody to knuckle him up. I thought Bud was going to do it, but he let him slide. Tiafimo said essentially clickbait everything that he's saying. He's doing it for attention, which I think Bud should not have let that slide, but that's a whole nother conversation. But the champs at 140, line them up. I'm sorry, 135. The champs at 135, line them
135.
up.
All right, any of those guys would fit for Tank, but what about Lamont Roach? I mean, what is next for, after this beautiful performance that he put on last night against, essentially maybe the best fighter in the world? I mean, what's next for Lamont Roach?
Shakur Stevenson said that if you can't get the rematch, he has a championship fight waiting for you. What do you think about that?
That's why I love him. Genuine speaking, man, that's what I want to do. I want to fight the best fights. Like I said, hopefully we can get the rematch. If not, hopefully I can, but more than likely we can get in there with Shakur because, we already talked. And it's all about showing who's the best. It's all about good competition. And that's what I'm on. I'm in here trying to prove that I'm the best.
The world is on notice now. And so there are no more who is Lamont Roach. We all know exactly who Lamont Roach is. He's skilled. And his next move is very important. And I hope that him and his team handle it appropriately. I did see that Shakur Stevenson tweeted that he is willing to take on Lamont if he doesn't get that immediate rematch with Gervonta. And we're talking about high-level boxing. High to extremely skilled fighters. And I think Shakur, with healthy hands, he's able to punch when he wants, how he wants, not hurting his hands. In my opinion, he can box with the best of them.
I don't know what the entertainment value for that fight would be because Gervonta he moves, don't get me wrong, and he moved well in this fight with Lamont Roach, but he's still a lot more stationary than Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson really likes to move and box. And so I just don't know stylistically that would be the most entertaining fight if him and Lamont Roach did fight.
Lamont said he's got tools in his bag. And so maybe there's more wrinkles to his game than what he showed against Gervonta.
Maybe
he can cut the ring off and get Shakur to engage.
Maybe.
I'm intrigued by what Lamont brings. Not going to jump out and say best ever. He's the greatest, fighter in history. Not going to go that far.
No, but he had a hell of a night.
He did. He did. I'm thoroughly intrigued. I need to see Lamont Roach sooner than later. I don't need to see a terrible tune-up by Gervonta. I don't need to see Lamont Roach versus whoever. Let's not start the build-up process now that we know Lamont Roach. Just get him in there with stiff competition right off the bat. Let's get him back in there good. There's a lot of fighters out there, a lot of guys around that weight class. So let's make some good fights. Let's get Lamont Roach going.
I would like to see maybe him and Keyshawn Davis. I think Lamont Roach versus Keyshawn Davis would be another fight similar to maybe potentially what we just saw between him and Gervonta, because I think both guys will stand in the pocket and trade and counter and throw power shots, and that would be another high-level entertaining fight.
I'm big on Keyshawn. Keyshawn he's that guy, but he is newer to a title ring than the rest of the people that we're talking about. And so I just wonder, does experience play a factor when we're matching up
So
Keyshawn
whoa,
with these Gervonta,
wait a minute.
Shakurs, where does
So now are we throwing Lamont Roach in that same?
Lamont Roach is a champ, and he's fought stiffer competition than Keyshawn Davis has, right? And so I'm just wondering, it's a question. How does Keyshawn, does his character come up if he gets behind? The same way that you question Gervonta's character, Keyshawn doesn't have the experience that the other champs around this weight class have. He is that guy. He's young, he's cocky, he's confident. But once you get in the ring, experience plays a factor. It's very important.
I think they should do it. I mean, like I said, I would love to see it. To me, that is, after what the show that Lamont put on, that fight is really kind of 50-50. And I'm big on Keyshawn. I think that he's a great fighter. I mean, he could get in there with anybody and do his thing, come out on top. But the way that Lamont, showcased his skill set, I think that's probably a 50-50 fight. I think it could go either way. I don't think experience would play that big of a role in that potential fight. I really don't, because Keyshawn has just shown that he's that guy.
Who's next? Keyshawn? Who is it? Who should Lamont Roach step in the ring with next? Let us know your opinion. Is Keyshawn ready? It's debatable. Was it just a night off for Gervonta? It's debatable. Adding Lamont Roach to the mix makes for more important fights, more big fights. So I love that he got in there and he did his thing, because that's another name, big name we can add to the mix. Like, okay, that's a fight. Stop recycling guys. We're tired of it. Outrageous pay-per-view amounts. It's time for that to change, and we got to get new blood in the ring, and that's what Lamont Roach brings to the table.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff. So, man, shout out to them. Really good showcase last night. And what about the undercard?
Man, tap into shout out Gary Antoine Russell.
Yeah.
He lumped up Rayo, man. I did not see it coming.
Unexpected for sure.
Didn't see it coming, man. Rayo boxed so well against Pitbull. And I guess, styles make fights, because two aggressive fighters, but not the same type of aggression. Gary Antoine Russell's a little bit bigger, and it made a difference, man. He wanted that belt.
Yeah.
Rayo wasn't able to utilize the ring this time, and Gary Antoine Russell was aggressive. He hawked him down. He landed big punches.
Through good combinations.
Gary Antoine Russell didn't look that great his last time out, right? And Rayo looked amazing. So I'm like, when I saw this one, I wanted to root for Gary Antoine Russell, but I was like, Rayo looked good. And man, those tables turned. Shout out, man, the Russells, man. Big bro, Gary Russell was the coach. All of them were Gary Russell, but Gary Antoine Russell, man.
He was a good fighter in his own right, Gary Russell.
Former champ. He fought the likes of Lomachenko. So I like that he won that belt, man. So that's the 140 weight class. So you got Gary Russell, you got Puello, Teofimo. Got a lot of good fresh blood. Richardson Hitchens, solid boxer. He can put punches together. Not super exciting, but he's a good skilled boxer. So interested to see what happens next with Richardson Hitchens. He just recently won his belt. And so a lot of fighters there at 140. Does Gary Antoine Russell rematch Puello, try to get that lick back, or does he just move forward? What do you expect from him?
I think it would be probably better to move forward. let's keep it pushing. Let's seek some new horizons, and potentially some bigger paydays. Yeah. So if I'm him, my mind is on keeping it pushing.
Puello did not struggle with Gary Antoine Russell, so maybe he can revisit that later.
For sure.
Later on in his career. Give us your opinion, man. Shout out Gary Antoine Russell. But before you do that, go ahead and check out this folding chair activity. Hell yeah.
Damn, he got folded like a lawn chair.
This one is scheduled for 10. Oh, big right uppercut. Down goes Hernandez, and this one might be over.
Now he is working that
jab, and it's not a huge jab. There's a right hand off the jab, and down he goes. And that
You know, obviously, I don't want to ask you how do you feel because we know it's a tough loss for you, but just what's going through your mind?
What the fuck just happened? Like, what did I get hit with? And couldn't regroup, and I don't know, man. Just, shit doesn't go your way, and you just have to bounce back.
Hell yeah, man. Forward and chair activity, man. A couple of goofies getting knocked out. Now we're going to tap into our fantasy matchup. We got an exciting one. We are talking about Gervonta Tank Davis. We're not questioning him. Just a fantasy matchup. But we're going to match him up with a throwback guy. Hell of a champion. Zab. Super Judah. How does that one play out?
Man, so we're taking it back to New York. You know, shout out to New York. That's where Zab Judah's from. So, you know, that's where Gervonta just fought last night. So, you know, that's a tough one because both guys are quick. Both guys are skillful. Both guys have power. But I'm not going to lie. You know, aside from last night, Tank has looked amazing in each and every fight, right?
Yes.
And so, you know, I'm gonna still ride with Tank Davis on this one, just because I think that his bag is maybe a little bit deeper than Zab Judah's bag was. Now, but when Zab, hold on.
Wait a minute.
Because let's be honest with you. I mean, Gervonta also showed. I'm telling you, that was a high level boxing match last night. He showed a lot of skill as well, counter punching as well. He did.
Zab in his day, he was that guy.
He was nice. Zab was nice.
Guy. I think there's different levels to breaking that down. And so I'm not mad at Gervonta over Zab, but Zab early is giving Gervonta fits.
For sure.
And
for sure.
I think the difference could be Gervonta can get frustrated enough to where he's pulling out antics in the second half of that fight. You know, based upon what I saw last night.
Yeah, this is recency bias right here.
If he tries to go get grease out of his hair, they're not doing that in the 2000s. No, that's a knee.
And Zab is going to try to take your head off.
Zab can box. Slick, southpaw. He's mean, he's gritty. He did his thing. And so, you know, he at times was a front runner. So I think that would be the problem. Because if Gervonta tries to get Zab to the later rounds and drown him, he probably would have.
And you know, and they were opposite in that way, right? Like Zab was a much quicker starter,
right,
as compared to Gervonta, who was a much slower starter. So, but then the fight would literally, you know, flip on its head, right?
I mean, Zab early, I liked Zab halfway through that fight, but then he could also box and see how Lamont Roach carried himself in the second half of that fight. And so that doesn't mean that Gervonta comes on and knocks Zab out late, right? The way he's used to doing guys. And so I got Zab winning most of those early rounds, and the second half is depending on Gervonta trying to win back some of those rounds, and he might end up needing potentially a knockout to win the fight.
But if anybody could do it, it would be Gervonta Davis. And we have to account for the pressure that Gervonta would be applying, right? Both mentally and physically on Zab Judah.
I think
right?
Zab could maneuver that pressure. I think he could handle it.
Because we talk about people being a hothead or maybe having some antics. Zab, you know, could potentially have that type of night as well, potentially. You know, so I don't know, man. I think if the later the fight goes, basically, the better it would go, I think, for Gervonta Davis. And I think the pressure will begin to, you know, Zab would eventually succumb to the pressure and the power punching of a Gervonta Davis.
I don't know. This one is actually hard for me to call because I like Zab early. And I think Zab possesses enough skill and ability to where he doesn't get walked down and washed late. And so This is definitely going to scorecards.
That pressure's different, man. I'm telling you, man, that pressure's different. And then, because look at the counter punching that Gervonta displayed last night. Mm-hmm. Right now, I know Zab is quick and Zab is also skillful, but
counter punching his own right.
But I don't know, man. I just think eventually, man, he would catch up to Zab Judah. I do. I really think he would.
I'm not going to actually give one side or the other.
Would you see Zab just sitting in the pocket, being able to trade and kind of do like a Lamont-esque type of, counter punching with Gervonta Davis? Could you see Zab Judah doing
Zab in his prime is a 50-50 fight.
No, Zab is moving, right? Zab is moving. Zab is in and out. Zab is on his toes. He's quick. He's nice.
It's a 50-50 fight.
I got Gervonta in that one. I got Gervonta.
Zab, he had a lot of belts. He did a lot of good stuff in the ring. Go back, YouTube him, man. Do your research, do your history, man. Zab Super Judah was that guy. Great fight.
Would you ever say that Zab Judah at any point in his career was the face of boxing?
I mean, he was in an era of other good guys. He
fought. Was he at any point the face of boxing?
I mean, Gervonta, we can want to call him the face of boxing, but after last night, does he still hold that title? Right?
I think so. I mean, because he's the draw, right? Gervonta, no matter who he boxes.
We've got Crawford, we've got Canelo. So to say you're the face of boxing is an opinion, right? Because you're in the era of the other greats. And so to say you are the face of boxing, it's opinion based, right? It doesn't necessarily mean you are the face of boxing.
All I'm saying is I don't think anybody, when Zab was, and this is no knock on Zab, because again, Zab was a great fighter. He's a great fighter out of New York for sure. But I don't think that anybody would confuse him for being the face of boxing.
As long as Zab was in shape and he doesn't, lose it by the end of the fight, right? He doesn't go full on into antics. His dad doesn't jump in the ring, right? As long as none of that happens, it's a 50-50 fight. And if they're in New York,
the judges might give it to Zab. That's a hometown advantage right there in New York for sure.
I think that's a great fantasy matchup. Go ahead, let us know what you think. Fuck it, man. Zab wins, man. Let us know what you think in the comment section, man. That's today's episode, man. Just a breakdown of Gervonta Tank Davis versus Lamont the Reaper Roach. All respect, all kudos to Lamont, man. Big shout out to him. Looking forward to what he does next. Go ahead, like, follow, subscribe, tell anybody, tell everybody. The Unprofessional Experts Podcast, JMC and Davo. Until next time.
We are firemen. The heat doesn't bother us. We live in the heat. We train in the heat. It tells us that we're ready. We're at home. We're where we're supposed to be. Flames don't intimidate us. What do? We control the flame.
All right, so we literally just did that. So we'll just go right into the fantasy matchup.
Who was it again?
Gervonta.
Okay. Got you. First Gervonta.